Let's bring in, though, our expert panel of guests for this labour market chat. We've got with me in studio Peter Gleeson from Chandler McLeod, Simon Boulton from Aequalis, Fred van der Tang from Randstad, and welcome to all of you. I just want to start with that broad question. When you guys look at the jobs market, do you think that maybe all of this talk of stress in the jobs market has been a bit overdone, particularly towards the end of last year? We got a bit too gloomy about things, Peter?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm glad I didn't expect to be quite as bullish as that, to be honest, in January.
Yeah.
We only had 2 or 3 weeks of employment because a lot of people stayed on holidays.
Good point.
We'll see the participation rate being about the same as December, which actually dropped off a bit from memory. So I think there's a bit of a correction. We lost a lot of part-time jobs coming up to Christmas last month. It was unexpected. There were so few. So I think there's a bit of correction there at the moment, to be honest. And but if it continues, well, that'll be interesting. Yeah. It's certainly...
Yeah, Fred, you lose 38,000 jobs in November and December, and you gain 46,000 just even over a couple of weeks in January. What is the kind of trend you're seeing, if we can kind of detect anything?
Yeah, I think there's first of all, there's an awkward seasonality pattern still, okay. with retail and hospitality being hit in the part-time piece certainly before Christmas. And I think there's still, as you refer to as well, there's a big psychological element. All the newsline headings are about some big numbers with some of the big companies. Today, some more news again. But fundamentally, there's still lots of industries and sectors that are still doing well, where actually growth is still happening.
Simon, just impressions on the numbers today from you as well, from Aequalis?
I think there's a perception and reality sort of shift here. You know, when I meet up with clients and talk to people, people look at me and say, Simon, how's it going? You know, and they breathe in tightly.
Yeah.
I have to look at them and say, well, you know what? We're not doing badly, actually. Things are quite good. And people are surprised by that. But the fact is, people are recruiting, clients are hiring, people are moving jobs, and unemployment's falling. So these are great figures again.
When you're speaking with clients and major employers, how do they feel the state of the economy is? I don't know if anyone just wants to jump in here, because I know Wayne Swan, I mean, Treasury is still being fairly optimistic, I guess you'd have to say as well. Swan's been saying we're all getting carried away with the pessimism. Yeah, what are clients and businesses saying?
I think clients are thinking that our job is very easy, frankly, and it really isn't, because although there are plenty of jobs around, and I agree with Simon, the reality is we've still got this problem with the skills for the jobs that are around. In other words, we have a number of shortages in critical areas. So it's actually harder now, and I think the other point is that a lot of people in jobs who would normally be relatively active this time of the year are still sitting on their hands because there is some degree of lack of confidence. So
I think employers clearly have a lack of visibility, so they're uncertain. That means they are nervous to make hiring decisions. That means they are on the one hand using more temps and contractors, which is good in terms of their flexibility, but at the same time, as Peter said, people are sitting on their hands, so it's not easy to persuade people to move from one place to another. And the underlying factor is still huge skill shortage, which still, by the way, also drives up the rates and the wages as we speak.
And that is a concern across the whole economy. But Simon, can I ask you specifically about the finance sector? Because the last few weeks and months, job losses out of banks has been one of the big things across, splashed across the pages.
Yeah.
What are you seeing, just observations in general about maybe whether this is kind of already coming into the numbers, or whether that's still maybe to come in coming months?
I don't think it's yet probably hit those numbers, Brooke, but organisations unfortunately have to make quick decisions on saving costs. Revenue lines are uncertain. How do they cut costs quickly? They sack people. That's what that is how traditionally they do it. And then through that they hedge it, as Fred says, with temporary and contract people coming into the organisations as well. So I think there's just this caution out there. Employers are cautious, job seekers are cautious. People are just pausing at them. I'm not really certain what to do.
Fred, we have had a lot of coverage this week across the newspapers about the high-cost, low productivity future that Australia faces. Now, that would have got people around you talking, no doubt. What are the kinds of productivity gains that employers are seeing in their own workforces? Kind of spinning this more positively, maybe. What are people feeling they can do?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Actually, if you look at the banking sector alone, there's clearly some different approaches that the big banks are taking. Some are cutting down on jobs and offshoring contractors to low wages countries as well. Others are booming in and zooming in more on intelligent options, in my view, about innovation, about process optimization, and a lot about employee engagement and training as well. So clearly there's various roads that lead to Rome, as they say. So there's it's not up to me to judge which one is better, I guess. But it means that productivity gains are quite often associated to pretty basic things, like laying off people, doing more with less people. But there's a lot more to say about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wanted to go on for at least 5, 10, 15 minutes on that, but we've got to wrap up because there's something else has just come through, guys.
Okay, no problem.
That's always the way. Thank you so much, Peter Gleeson, Fred van der Tang, and Simon Boulton from Aequalis, Randstad, and Chandler McLeod in reverse order. Thanks, guys.